I'm going to be reading a text this evening called Writing for the Second Time through Finnegans Wake. And I've written a kind of introduction to this, which I'm going to read to you rather than just speaking to you, improvising it, simply because there's so much information that were I to improvise it, it would take more time than it would be if I would read the text which I've written. In 1939, I bought a copy of Finnegans Wake in a department store in Seattle, Washington. I had read the parts of Work in Progress as they appeared in transition. I used out loud to entertain friends with The Aunt and the Gracehopper. But even though I owned a copy, no matter where I lived, the Wake simply sat on a table or shelf unread. I was too busy writing music to read it. In 1942, Janet Fairbanks asked me for a song. I browsed in the Wake looking for a lyrical passage. The one I chose begins page 556. I changed the paragraph so that it became 2 and read as follows. Night by silent sailing night, Isabel, wildwood's eyes and primrose hair, quietly, all the woods so wild, in moves of moss and daphne dews, how all so still she lay, 'neath of the white thorn, child of tree, like some lost happy leaf, like blowing flower stilled, as fain would she anon, for soon again 'twill be, win me, woo me, wed me, ah, weary me, deeply, now even calm lay sleeping. Night, Isabel, Sister Isabel, Saintette Isabel, Madame, Isa, Veuve, la Belle. The title I chose was one of Joyce's descriptions of her, the wonderful widow of 18 Springs. I remember looking in later years several times for other lyrical passages in the Wake, but I never settled on one as the text for another song. In the middle 60s, Marshall McLuhan suggested that I make a musical work based on the Wake's 10 thunderclaps. He said that the thunderclaps were, in fact, a history of technology. This led me to think of Jasper John's Painted Bronze, the cans of ale, and to imagine a concert for string orchestra and voices with the addition toward the end of wind instruments. The orchestra would play notes traced from star maps, Atlas Borealis, but due to contact microphones and suitable circuitry, the tones would sound like rain, falling at first, say, on water, then on earth, then wood, clay, metal, cement, etc., finally not falling, just being in the air, our present circumstance. The chorus, meanwhile, would sing the thunderclaps, which would then be electronically transformed to fill up the sound envelopes of an actual thunderstorm. I had planned to do this with LeJaron Hiller at the University of Illinois, 1968-69, but harpsichord took 2 years rather than 1 to make and produce. Due to Norman O. Brown's remark that syntax is the arrangement of the army, and Thoreau's that when he heard a sentence he heard feet marching, I became devoted to non-syntactical demilitarized language. I spent well over a year writing empty words, a transition from a language without sentences, having only phrases, words, syllables, and letters, to a language having only letters and silence, music. This led me to want to learn something about the ancient Chinese language and to read Finnegans Wake. But when in this spirit I picked up the book, Joyce seemed to me to have kept the old structures, sin talks, in which he put the new words he had made. It was when I was in this frame of mind that Elliot Anderson, editor of Tri-Quarterly, wrote asking me to write something, anything, text or music, for an issue of the magazine to be devoted to the wake, in the wake of the wake. I said I was too busy. I was. I was writing Renga and had not yet started Apartment House 1776, the performance date of which had already been set. Anderson replied that his deadline could be changed. I refused again and again. He persisted. Anderson was not the first person to bother me by asking me to do something when I was busy doing something else. We continually bother one another with birthdays, deadlines, celebrations, blurbs, fundraising, requests for information, interviews, letters of introduction, letters of recommendation. To turn irritation into pleasure, I've made the practice for more than 10 years now of writing mesostics, not acrostics, row down the middle, not down the edge. What makes a mesostic, as far as I'm concerned, is that the first letter of a word or name is on the first line, and following it on the first line, the second letter of the word or name is not to be found. The second letter is on the second line. When, for instance, we were in a bus in northern Michigan on our way to hunt morels, Interlochen music students were asking me what a mesostic was. I wrote, music, the M without an O after it, music conducted, the O without an R, the word performed would not have worked, music conducted in spring, the R without an E, by trees, the E without an L, Dutch elm disease. To bring my correspondence with Elliot Anderson to a temporary halt, I opened Finnegans' Wake at random, page 356. I began looking for a J without an A, and then for the next A without an M, etc. I continued finding Joyce and James to the end of the chapter. I wrote 23 mesostics in all. I then started near the end of the book. I couldn't wait, for I knew how seductive the last pages of Finnegan are. My lips went livid, for from the joy of fear, like almost now, how you said how you'd give me the keys of me heart. Just a whisk, brisk, sly, spry, spink, spank, sprint of a thing. I pity your old self I was used to, a cloud in peace. Having found these, I looked for those at the beginning. And finally, as Joyce had done, I began at the end and continued with the beginning. Just a may I be wrong, for she'll be sweet for you as I was sweet when I came down out of me mother. Gem or shen brewed by arclight, and rory end through all Christian minstrelsy. In those I bracketed the words me and mother, and brewed by arclight, and then continuing. The bracketed words are the ones I'd have omitted if it were just now I had written them. There were choices to be made, decisions as to which words were to be kept, which omitted. It was a discipline similar to that of counterpoint in music with the cantus firmus. My tendency was toward more omission rather than less. Just a whisk, brisk, sly, spry, spink became just a whisk of pity, a cloud in peace and silence. And a further omission was suggested by Norman O'Brien, that of punctuation, a suggestion I quickly acted on. Subsequently, the omitted marks were kept not in the mesostics but on the pages where they originally appeared, the marks disposed in the space, and those other than periods given an orientation by means of E-King chance operations. Where in all this work Joyce used italics, so have I. My marginal figures are source pages of the Viking Press edition of Finnegan. Stuck in the wake. I couldn't get out. I was full of curiosity about all of it. I read A Skeleton Key. Ihab Hassan gave me his book, Paracriticisms, and two others, Adeline Glashin's A Second Census of Finnegans Wake, and Clive Hart's Structure and Motif. I continued to read and write my way through all of Finnegans Wake. Finnegans Wake has 625 pages. Once finished, my writing through Finnegans Wake had 125 pages. My editor, Mr. J.R.T. de la Torre Bueno, finding it too long, suggested that I shorten it. Instead of doing that, I wrote a new series of mesostics, writing for the second time through Finnegans Wake, in which I did not permit the reappearance of a syllable for a given letter of the name. I distinguished between the two J's and the two E's. The syllable just could be used twice, once for the J of James and once for the J of Joyce, since it has neither A nor O after the J, but it could not be used again. To keep from repeating syllables, I kept a card index of the ones I had already used. As I guessed, this restriction made a text considerably shorter, 39 pages in all. My work was sometimes that of identifying, as Duchamp had, found objects. The text for Triquarterly is 7 out of 23. 7 mesostics were straight quotations. For example, this one from page 383. He just slumped to throne, so sailed the stout ship Nancy Hands from Liff away, for Natten Lender, as who has come returns. In such a case, my work was merely to show, by giving it a 5-line structure, the relation of Joyce's text to his name, a relationship that was surely in these instances not in his mind, alone, or in combination, in these instances not in his mind, though at many points, as Adeline Glashin cheerfully lists, his name was in his mind, alone or in combination with another name, for example, Poor Joyce, page 113, and Joyce's Crisis, page 395. When I was composing my sonatas and interludes, which I did at the piano, friends used to want to know what familiar tunes, God Save the King, for instance, would sound like due to the preparations between the strings. I found their curiosity offensive. And similarly, from time to time in the course of this work, I've had my doubts about the validity of finding in Finnegans Wake these mesostics on his name which James Joyce didn't put there. However, I just went straight on, A after J, E after M, J after S, Y after O, E after C. I read each passage at least 3 times and once or twice upside down. Hazel Dryce, who taught us English binding, used to tell us how she proofread the Leaves of Grass, an edition of which she bound for San Francisco's Grabhorn Press, upside down and backwards. When you don't know what you're doing, you do your work very well. J's can thus be spotted by their dots and by their dipping below the line, which I's don't do. Difficult letters to catch are the commonest ones, the vowels, and the consonants escape our notice in empty words, words the mind skips over. I am native to detailed attention, though I often make mistakes. I was born early in September. But I found myself from time to time bursting into laughter. This not when the wake was upside down. The play of sex and church and food and drink in an all-time, all-space world turned family was not only regaling, it joiced me. In places, that is, where Thoreau couldn't, where left to myself I wouldn't have. I don't know whom to connect with Joyce. We connect Satie with Thoreau. Duchamp stands, I'd say, somewhere between. He is, like Joyce, alone. They are connected for that and many other reasons, but that's something else to do. I am grateful to Elliot Anderson for his persistence and to the trustees of the James Joyce Estate for permitting the publication of this work. I'm going to read now the shorter text, writing for the second time through Finnegans Wake. And at the end, I will answer questions if you have some. Or at least I'll respond to questions. Finnegans Wake has a structure which some of you may know. There are 4 parts. The first part has 8 chapters, and the second and third parts have 4 chapters, and the last part has only 1. So that I will pause at the end of each of these chapters, but there will then be the various pauses that are suitable to an 8-chapter part, and then the suitable pauses for a 4-chapter part, and another 4-chapter part, and then we'll come to the end. Ross with 2-1 Nathan Joe, a malt gem shen shoot solid man, that the Humpty Hillhead of himself is at the knockout in the park. Jick up the Father most heaven sky sign, Judges or Deuteronomy watch future pension juki chap, mighty cement and edifices, the jebel and the crop herb a fly day and she all casually answers helpers, jolly bool and struppet hump, and all the uproar aufroofs, to fjell his baywinds obobos all the livy-long tricky trokies. Was he on the joint? Was he famous old as you? Jamie, our country is a French, Sorcerer. This is the Grand Mont's engine. This is the Alps hooping to shelter shock the 3 Lepoliums. This is their Leghorns. Ginny's is a coup in her Philippi dispatch to irrigate the Willingdon. The Ginny's Fontenoy bowed Belcham bonnet to Busby. This is the Hindu waxing rangy mad for the Hindu sea-boy. Cry to the Willingdon. Gist appeared to nigh Militopicos and to mourn. We wish for a muddy musical chocolate box. I say incubus. Used we Mammon Lucius Grand Historiarum wrote near bluest Jerry building. To the year and laughters, confusion hold them. This Carl on the copy, Parth alone, forshapen his pig-made, wag's head, shrunk his plod's foot. 'Tis a jute. Swap hats, an excheck, a few strong verbs, yap yazard a bast mutt. Has at, hesitancy, I trumple from wrath in mine minds, jute, one eye gone black, cross your qualm, have sylvan objects, alves, beats, old Walde Cargan of prohibitive pomifructs, Dublin's giant may mud sunder who oped it closed, and Jarl Van Hoother laying cold hands on himself, and his 2 little Jiminies, cousins of Castle Bedermot, come to the keep of a rosy Jiminy with soft years walk to touch him his tickles. You were the double-jointed janitor the morning they were delivered, and you'll be a grandfer when the right hand seizes what the love arm knows. Hetty Jane's a child. She'll be coming. Their torch to rekindle the flame. She'll do no juggly-wuggly with her war souvenir Muriel. Assure there. Jubilee scatterguns, family symbolizing puritas per usuals. Jappy Jap among Sibylline Mullicky Kingable Khan, practical joke piece, Suchelty co-comedian, his house about him with invariable broad-stretched Juke and Kallikek families, at one time annoying, see Irwicker. Jesse's ripe occasion, Arcadum, Villa Bleach, Vala Pluck, Fick up for Flesh Nelly, Guinness Thaw Tool in Jumi Dinner, Oozlefin, a nice how do you do in Pool Black time. Jurgensen's shrapnel, communionism, Usu capture, the same tongue and commutative justice that there is not one tittle of hypertituitary man-like cavern ethics, Blue Ruin and Creeping Jenny, Eglantine's choicest herbage, man's swell that aims swell, many jiffies, furbishing pot lids, door brasses, scholars, apple cheeks, and link boys' medals, cross Eblin's chilled hamlet, subjects of King St. Salmon alive with their priggish mouths all open, a house of call at Cooge's place, old Sot's hole, by setting a match to Stewart's potatre, joined had been the variety, had stimulants in the shape of G and G's, juiced after taking their liquor from highway and brown byway, Scotia Picta, and he who denies it, may his hairs be rubbed. His Majesty, that one-crooned king among rhapsods piped decent so art, jail, chorus, jail of Mount Joy, jail him and joy. He was sick 7 dry Sundays a week, jolting the backtrap omnibus, caught his death of Fusiliers. Mr. J.F. Jones Coleman of Lucan, taking 4 parts in Fen McCall and Servan Furies, juxta-explanation was put in lieu of eyes, local calor and local odor, to have to silenize his jujus, the ghost of resignation may gloat effective beam of sunshine, Kitnabudja town of Panba Panung O Povengreski, their compass Melos yields the mold, pro-tried with Jedburgh justice, acquitted contestimony with benefit of clergy, mad thing has done him judgments, those as days, camps concurred. Jilk began to molt in stench of gladsome rags, poor Jink following Roy's such bash in patches beyond recognition, came down with hop, stemp, and jumpet to the tilt yard from asleep Oni overclothes, Regani Jaily, Walters off, white a pinch ideal. Leave Australia for the astrologeries, for the love of the sciences. Puddywhack back to Pamentol and roll away reel, and call all your smoke blushes by a large jugful someplace on the sly, where Furphy he isn't by, old Grum could canoodle the 2, chivvy chivoo. All 3 carcasses, matin cheps and meat jutes, on behalf of Otto Sands and Eastman Wint, and with unmitigated astonishment hick-hicked at her jams each other the notchy girlie rapidly took to necking, selling her spare favors, for the rejoicement of fine ladies, in contrastations with Inkerman, and so on and so onward. Flee celestials, one clean turve, his Manchester's voice had to fall. They slouch backwards at Kerhelly. Sein, haste themselves in a Finglas mill, prayed on anxious seat. Can't ye neat gift 2 jars and several bottles, though ye asked in the vermicular with a very ugly chuchin grin? Joking, change excelsis,ism, rather amusedly replied J. and S. Before first wind of gay and whiskwigs, wicks, ears pricked up, liberties of the Pacific subject, circulating cemetery through farts open to buggy and bike or Quaker's quack nostrum. The whole Padderjag Martin tripesite copperas had fallen off him quats unaccountably, like the crystallizations of Alaman even, while he was trying for to stick fire to Christie's and Jews' Ballybrick and Animals Sty Streets Troya. Some major bore, urchin wine, Cromwell, Maximus Esme. Tongue in a ponderant jawl, matters of pronunciation, quare hircum, no answer, unde gentium fe, sire, I am deed. Ja, and I should, yes, your brother struck him back in Multifarnham, whether he fell in with Punic judgeship, penal law. Stucco muck had been removed at the request of the gentlemen in juries who had been these yarns yearning for that good one about coddling doom as stake. Peggers wind up come justled neatly with the symphysis of antipathies distinctly different, festives and hijinks. And now a trade wind's day, and the O'Moily Rossies chaffing him blush-face and playing him pranks, and Johnny's hold hard, I'm glad a gull for his posdeen fionn, says he Lancashire, go bugga ye, says jackass the rose, rogues lean to rhyme. There was never a Marcus at all among the Manleys across the jewel-ties genial corslands of Mullinahab, bearing right upon Tankerstown, the Jenny who and you ever reach bird gleam, just gregarious field marshal Prince Miles the Slasher in his person, spike of smokes jut stiff from porphyroid butter tower and then thirsty backwards, more strictly Van Dyke gravitational pull, chance drifting through our system. Quick, speak, dumb, hush, jeer too, and zany zonies, and murmur of all the Machiavics, she who had given his eye for her bed and a tooth. Journey to Ark, see the combing of the parlour-maids of Egypt, Placiat, Vestri. He's my O Jerusalem, and I'm his Poe. My Jucky from Victrolia Nuance to Jumbo to Jallis, 2 ways of opening the mouth. I not stopped water where it should flow, and I know the first book of jealousy's child-size heroes. Hauk koch me I, Abe to Sarah stood Isaac, neuter till Brahm talked him common sex. A jolting prearranged mount back against a party wall, below use of quill or style. Jolly glad when Christmas comes eye to eye, noticing that lines Jew far in Dumble's fair, ere our coasts your majesty boost from all vayus, Valapucky Cromwell 3 jeers for the grapevine and brew. Rum smelt his end for him, and he dined dejectedly in the diapered window margin, basque of bay leaves all aflutter. Curious protoparents ipsissima verba. John rated Mick, he misunderstruck and aimed for a malo. His Indian name is Hapapusi Sabjibwe, and his number the plow. Took moves in vicus cycles, yet remused the same of Portobello Equidocta Theracocta Percarello. Julant on a fiel d'uif, roost the halo off his varlet, put a roof on the lodge for him and a cock in his pot pro homo. Then Pansi Circenser, then Hortifex Magnus, made man with juts that jerk and come home, sweet home, champagne down to clouts and pottled porter. Simon Jorn, Barty Moore and Tom, and how were your Maggies? Answer, they were loving they love. Horse's nose and Jeff's got the signs of ham round his mouth. Violets died. What sour love much but a breath burning till she that draws doth smoke? Like king off duty and a jaw good summon in the psalm. But irem et mel et sciat reprobare malum et elegere bonum. Recommending the silk Bjorg machine for the economical space to look myself a little more closely, would myself and MacJeffet for in hand foot him out. Aye, were he my own breast brother, bum and dingo, Jack by churl, though it broke my heart to pray it. Jem is Jacob. He was of respectable stemming, and outlegs between the lines of juice jelly legs, molten mutton, Creakin-hearted you to touch what happens when John's his next place, feel his lambs, feel how sheep XX his liver. 3 jeers his rotten little bottom sawyer till now and lacks semantics. Saxon and Yudder, word made war, Hempel must tumble, broken eggs will push squeeve bitten apples. American jump, Fox are we fairly represented in dream color, Battle of Waterloo, muffle up Joss, trousers changing color, in Chem's revolted stellas, in junk at Sampam on his stray whizzer, to avenge Mac Jobber went stone-stepping with Dr. Pointjank, authorized Bodler and censor, vellum blundered, an Eiling vision more gorgeous than the one before. The jig-jagged page, his tongue in his belfry, it took him a month to steal a march, hard set to mummerize more than a word a week. Jimes wishes to hear drumcondriac Nate really was. Who them bearded Jezebels rob Marrowbone while whistle-whirling your crazy elegies? All jokes go green in the gazer. Mr. learned to say nay. Black mass of jigs and jim-jams, haunted by innocence. Yield our spiritus to the wind, pole the spaniel pack and their quarry. Egypt saw Lord Solomon, her bulls they were roaring surfed with spree, in a period gown of changeable jade that would robe the wood off her nose. Vuggy Barney, hello ducky, please don't die. Tapting a flank and tipting a jutty, palling in and petering out. When maids were in ark or when 3 stood hosting. And me to do the greasy job, Veronica's wipers they've moist Crampton lawn. Baptiste me, Father, for she has sinned. Or Jude's hotel, from Nanny Water to the Luton Quarter, you found his Icum upside down, corner boys camucking his guy. The Pios piped and Ubangies twanged with Oddfellow's triple tiara. She swore on cross sticks 9 windabouts she's be quick and mug, herself titled to join in the masquerade. Oh, giggoddle, it's too screaming, mini-ha, mini-he. You must really make my hear it gurgle. Jelly belly, incense anguille bronze, describe her, hustle along. Why can't you? Spits on while it's hot. Shins between them for Isabel Jezebel and Llewellyn marriage, a night marching hare and gumboots each for Bully Hayes and a hurricane hardican. A jaunting car, Doolin coil, a hair clip and clackdish for pencilless. Jill the spoon for Jack. The broth for Maggie. Frozen meat woman from Lusk to Livianbad for Jane in decline, soaking and bleaching the laundryman. Cuffs was heir to the town. Tell me of John, or Sean, Shem and Stem, stone beside the rivering waters. Opal, who, having jilted Glug, is fascinated by Miss Corrie. Grish and Skula bring the babes. Jests, jokes, interjection, Buckley. Music providentially arranged by Larcher and Lacorde. Jowl released she hind him's back, she shuffering all the diseasinesses of the melmelode jar, up tighty in the front, down again on the loose, trim and drumming. Yo with searcher fling did die near sea. He was an Ingine Ruber, ants to give whom inhabited hairy antlets on him. Plung jam his spokes mitzy, though I did 8 Van Diemen's coral pearl. Other sights of Jordan. Heave a heavy tin salmon till farther altars. Send George and don't you laugh. if his vine shankies informed to the old sniggering publishing press in his nation of sheep-copers, he would juice sit it all right down, just as in him's ignorance, seeing how heart-silly sorry he was. Was Liffey worth living? Nay, Tholdoth treatrine pomifiel while itch is shom. Have a jube, silly ass, Joshua Croesus, seed of some, after at he had breastplates. Jerk a ladle broom jig, I'll wail for you's cap twilled a twine of flame. A Robbie G, happy little girlie comes adolfted such glistering jewels, Lydia light fans and le monade. Sing a song of single month and Yule too, and cowers, so come on ye wealthy gentrymen, they ollie missile too, push the pump kick round, Alleluia, since the days of Romulus and Remus, like June's nuts lost, like the blue of the sky. If I stoop for to spies between my white humite columns, how makes their trial ears wax for pure blood Jebusite, drug malt Storhus, smiley sky blue eye alios? So she not swap her Eckhart Yem, Howardin's Castle, England, Wales, as hundreds elskerelks, yards of anims, factory fresh and fuming at the mouth. The width of the way for Jogjoy, Hulker's seaclest elbow nonsense, his dithering, dathering waltzers of Jempson's weed, Dexty, Oud Huis, Beide, Kierkegaard, Whoopie, South Sea campus calls, girls are merchant, jerk off, eat soup, yammer yan, while Felix diz who culpus does and harm's worth healing, splitten up or recompounded in Isaac Jacquemin, Morrow Mormo, my legion, how three stout swinehearts of the Orgias Mirashal Macmahoon, extremes giving quotodidience to our means, beer, wine, advocate withouten pleaders, mas marit, pas pulit, ras is hued of each's color, lucador and dun duras gudi lushu thermoi porter tu risuis falna bort and sport how can suck right there kapak kapuk. Up loud, you'd hear us, loud, graciously hear us. Judges gay Lutherius month with 3 Saturnine settings. Lead us seek, O June, thou who fleest thyself. Attach with thine efteased ensuer a question of the law of the jungle. Early Jemmy Johns will cudgel Brown and Nolan's divisional tables. Of Jem and Fichu will sit and knit halfway hoist pygmy hop a washable love by second brood. Je suis, thou are, M 50-50, Ook Elabon Pauline, cook, search me. Mangay mumbo jumjubes, mutts and jeffs, mooches brasilinettes, death ray stop him, entre Shah, dunderhead. Big gleaming jelly for good vaunting years in any large lumps, geek, got the strong of it into jinglish janglage, dolphins babe teasing us out of our Haydn name, sate with Beckus, Zumbach, Ashever. Junior, my lift stack to pimp my impending marriage, nature tells everybody, la jambe de marche. Suppose the deal shall play her side girls later. Au jour de bataille, blottom war, triffid tongues, you daredevil Donnelly. Cujas up his fandom's catechism, Caius counting in the scale of pin, puff, pive, piff, piff, puff, pive, par jour. You played nunk and tunk, and Mam's spot price, 'twas he was in Julietry, kicky shows and mad ornaments, and myrtle at the rectory, Vicarage Road. Jump off Carpenter Strait with Olaphus Centrum, Cyclone, allow make fearsome's ocean, you've actuary and dunked one Capitaine Killyhook in the Duke's private properties, a night of thought send yours and a day in effect, Yule's gone by. A gouvernement job, a moan day, tears day, thumps day, fear of the law. Look at this twitches. Low jure, love to see the Macbeth's jerseys knacking spots of Eagle Sweet. Last line from Smith Jones Orbison. Years, jury, a limp, a loop. Hop you been good girl, lift year, fence you all and mow. Twofold truth in the conjunctive appetites, oppositional RXs, royally tubally. Thou in shanty, thou in scanty shanty, thou in slanty scanty shanty, bide in your hush, bide in your hush. Julius Caesar, chemistry, discipline at the South City markets, belief in giants, New Yonks from Jake, Jack, and Little Sususi. Patent number 1132, Thor Peterson and Sins, Jomsburg, Silverberg, twin triotic, single valvulus, timpan, Bauliaf, Cleaf, culpable of condensing null and sentry, 1 watt-hour by laws below till time chings. Host until the teller oin of an oustman in skull of scand, when he pull up the turfy cork by grates of gobble out of Luchniach, rotary ewer, plebs but plabs, consistently blown to atoms, so help me boig, who keeps the book. Nogi soki purse caboodle, second chilling that aura sound, the snarsty vague for Publin, so was him who, him how the hitch to do this, my fan sulkers, he apologizes, dance so mansk like a dun darting dulmitter with stuck in postures. Jilt the spin and jolt a boy, low casts Aiton of a Millican stuff, interjoked Boas, scamp tail, ire whackering from the eye winker mastop, and eye far he fared. With winkle squelks and cocklescent jelks lit by night in the phoenix music, contrascene he cupped his ears to catch me's to you, Torstock, Tansia, Laventach, Yasunentach, Christianismus, Kyrialisius, Christianissimus, this pellover finish, jest crown the kettle, and heck love Alpi. And the Genesis is raping his hind. The missus bragged above that her agony stays outside her. It pickles up the punchy in the Jude. Yule to the day in its hay talat ho, cup it tellyhouse its story to euchrersmen sure to paltipsipote your finger thumbs. Here so lowly ejaculate, all lee light. Rassemble the glowerings of brilliant Ching Lu Mang. Come all of you jupes of Wilmington, graze the calves of heaven-spawn consummation, rent outraged Armenia's Jubilean Alps, and the hoofed Ribeiro, nigh regulect waft in the rut of his music's extravagance, act which seems to shrapnel innermost melody. Gross Jupiter, what was that? Hold hard, Major Herman, reproducing form of famous sires on the scene of the former's triumphs. Poor Schubstar, all the queermen of those anti-ants, their grandoper, that son of a gunning. I confesses without prejudice, when I looked at yarn's length by while of stock in his hand, and of getting umpty-ums gatheroomed off. A great mark for jinking brocade for a berm, when it bames fire, blue streak gisty and pithy as hammered cayenne was choplin blued. His bigots bristling as jitten Jew trickety shittery pet, he shouts his thump and fee-file full fingers up the frustrate Faustar, Ruska Cruscum Dom Aleph, sin practice failing to furrow theogonies of the damned. Loud lauds to his luck hump and Bejetti's Jonas and tomboys disassembling and taking him apart the slammocks, with discrimination for his maypole, and what we warn to hear, Jeff, is the woods of Chirpsy's cries, sock him up the old cant rogue, Group A, you have just a ham beam listening through, Groot Vater Lodevik, bold mans, you're the Yang the rapper of all jokel arenas, and they were as were they, rosing. He jumps, leaps, rising, he's their mark, certainty, oh, he's sprit in his fizz, e'en though Jambuel's difficulties is supposedly in proctor, Mars makes a good deal to be shot at, Jack Jacob's grief, K.C. Jowls, they sure are wise, Mr. G.B. Hillygate, Mr. W.K. Ferris Fender, Fort, Woveldon, James's Lane begetting a wife which became his niece by pouring her young things into skin ties. It crops out in your flesh. You on her hosey jigses, that'll be famucumal with the granny in a veiled playing down the slavey touch. Jick, you're getting hoovier, a 12-stone hoovier, and the grey club too, with were for the masses for to feed. And they camin in so had a jockey, only $quarter a skull for old Matt Gregory, and then besides old Matt there was Jules with the Huffers, Yaman and all the priest hunters from the Curragh and confusionaries and the authorities, and his crimson harness and his leathern jib, his cheap shine hair shirt that reminds me about the monasteriums of the poor. Then there was the official landing of Lady Jael's casemate in the year of the flood 1132 SOS, and then poor Merkin Corningham, the official out of pension when Jewel the Rance's egotum de profundity of multi-mathematical immaterialities, too terrific. The moo merlub jubes counting Mother Perry butts up 1 up 4 in lethargy's love at the end of it all. Caxton's wet air register. Gestured to Gwen his whistle, prayed he's sweet and Irish too, and mock gurgled to whistle his way through for the swallowing. Bird and dulce and Typurili jam, all for your charge, amen. And love Sir K. Lynch, he's deeply dreaming, Hosanna. Take this Johns's Lane in your toasting foot, Shanti and Shanti again. In 12 colander moons, I am studied Piscis Vendler, your grace, Fut's dronk, tackling Beanie, faith as well, and jucking Dorston in the mire, actually and presumptuously sanctifying Chronic's despair. 31 June, 13, 12 PD raised, come, came, stop. He can purge his contempt and degenerate as skeleton, bethinking himself to death, if he waits till I buy him a Mussulman's present. Hose nose half cousin of mine, pig dish, nor once went into the society of Jewses with brocals and temp when he foiled the Ikish. Girls fuss over him, pell-male their jeune premier, mussing his frizzy hair, simply savoring wild thyme and parsley, John asking kindly, are Bernadetta's columbillas coy, a bit of a side-eye, from Samson's tyke to Jones's sprat. John, after those few prelims, knowed her waves of splabashing, and she showed him proof. Always yeager muddles with their Danubois stickwicks. When you hear the prompter's voice, the race is to the rashest of the romping, jomping rushes of Halseaton's ad libidinum, if you've parents and things to look after. Divulge suddenly youted out hard-working yawn, braying aloud like Brahms' canantics in that buell of gruel he go-bedded bedgo. What do you mean by no, yas, pagan, tram wearing the mid-limb vesty? Just a stunched, dern wheel top-coated, with Tristis blinking and Jacobus intercissus as a Philoppotamus, and cracking jugs, granules, leaving tea leaves for the trout. West asleep amucks to watch him carefully, nocturnal goose-mother would lay her new golden she-egg. Be Molly and Jesus, I sport a Bryony O'Brieny, what sensitive coin possessed. Neck and neck-like Darby and June to our snug retribution's reward. The Scorch House, shunt us, saffron buns or sovereign bonhams, whichever you're avider, Oliver Ireland's, and a penny in the plate for the Jeems, okay. Oh, yon coat of very furry best, I'll try and pull it on me. The Jukes, the Kelly Cooks, have milking Marshalsea, first offenders, but I know what I'll do. I will tie a knot in my stringamajip, It will be worth simply and solely comb and mirror, O's and artless ahs. Hatch yourself well, and jam yourselves thoroughly. Would you wait bis she buds till you males together like the corks again, brothers hungry and angry? Journ aboard for Q. So long, lud erinana, wear thee well. Now's nunc or nimmer, e jurdve o jurdvo, to Maronite's oasis, Cedrus assault showing, leaf bough noon, oasis, half a glance of Irish frisky, a Juan Jameson hasta luego, sososapki, peukia, ho me hoping, ha me happy nice, born of Björn, Lagarde, Kus Hagdem, farvel speed, spatched von Yoon, that dandy forth from the night we are, and feel, and phoenix cock shall crow. West shall shake the east awake. Walk. O Jesus, fluid, says the poisoned well. Did you dream you eating your own tripe at Kushla, that you tied yourself up? Scents and goose pills, the animal jangs again. Howl me wiseacre's hat, till you howled Chris dream. Your Stavrotides young of Maho and that O Moulin Conry no use donkey shot. Every other woman has a jape in her fellow, oh say, but swift and Bellex acting like a Bellex. When a Crispin Socalist be soups, jots, or clapper claws, mum a dreary lane, just added twin little curls. I am writing in me petition to Kavanagh General when he is bedasme emotional vovular, with valid of Errol Piercy, oh, in my nil ensemble, in his lazy chair up my hemifaces, in all my Marianis. Alas for living's pleasures. Lordy Daw and Lady Dawn, boycotted and girl-cutted, in debt and doom on hill and haven, even by the shoulder flag flotilla. Water's heads, and to change that subjunct once in a while, identify yourself with the him in you. Fluctuous neck, merchempter, all effects in their joints caused ways, tombs deep and heavy, and what siggeth wooden warnowing thereof. The other men, jazz-like rollies and sessuos, was giggling his missus beyond 'tween decks, deeply, painfully. Junk the jungular life out of the Liffey. Christopher Carambas, such is satisfaction. You kissed, he conquered, musked belle of this masked ball, making magical show. In some clay, cast through the shapstakers of Hoy's house. Mr. Coppinger, he reckons himself disjunctively with his windward eye, a Cooney Farm school of knaves from 12, and them may riding him by the silent hour, butting, charging, bracing me shims, and here's me hams, and this is me juppets, gauze be the meter, he never cotched finer by sylph and salamander and prima patriarch of Transylvania, jesters of the king, Ironarch's custos in Pontifex Maximus, throughout the world, wherever good Al-Englishus Anglo-Saxon is spoken, from an early PP period, while still to Hay School intended for Broadchurch, I have the phony habits say when, Holmstock, Unstedden, a blow-eyed, lane-joint, falseroux de axe-hand, he is Tom's snake-eye strangler of Hanging Tower. Steck a javelin through his advotried heart. Cry as ers now, so use then. First cities, least case, I cast my 10-span joys on her. Arched, overtopped, what screech of shippings, what low of damp bulls from Liveland hawks, Zivios from Letland Scalvives, with impress of Asias, and nags of jets and silvered water roses, the peak of pims and slimes, a school of shells, of moils marine, and piebald shelties, skewbald domino. Jot, sobrat, steel white, and black mail, I ha sent for my sweet, an anemone's letter with the gold of my brightest hair bedyed. Carrie Jevon, a second position of Sylvia's beltings, are to be caught a Scarlet Pimpernel, gay Beutel a Staub to feel the timid Vortigern ausstemming, what boyishness me amble duty to your graces majors. We but miss that horse elder, Alfie Birni Ikla Trikla Yauta Captor Lambdom Nu. Hedges of maiden firm here in another place, chapel of eases, and her step to Jazima's colander bustle, selling sunlit soaps to washed-out winches and Stepneys skipping the clock-back crystal sweet-heartedly. Liquoring Jessup batters she druv behind her stumps, for a wink through his tunnel-cleft bag slops, GB's ugh, Jawboos putty good, yond would be worked out to an inch, his core. By George, if you've tipper-taps in your head, you're silenced at Henge College's Exmouth Ostbies for Ostboys, each and one death banes and the quick quoque. He conjured himself the theatron gigantogyres with free-flaw forms, as of young Appalachian Whitelock lacked. Just to roly-holy over svapna svap, of all the stranger things that tomb dyke and hollow, untirities of life's living, the Maskiosk Gin Palast, the bathhouse and the bazaar has his stay, and all a dreams perhapsing under Lux Loop at last all doze. Why, such me. The Ropper jerks Jake, Vampus fella Eilish, jerk Wobblish the man what gave me the keys to dreamland, sneakers in the grass, tick off that Kaffler's head. By Jings with the greatest Harry of chest hamps and affectionate company, real devotees, hugly judsies, what choose is left, to yearns nor you your ruck-sunk hike, round the lodge of Fjarn Gala, tamming Uncle Tim's cowbeen. As on the night of the Epaphonipes, jumpst, shootst, throbst into me mouth, like us two only I was but teen, a pining child round sluppery table. I'm sure he squirted juice in his eyes to make them flash for flightening me. Still in all, he was awful fond to me, just a whisk of pity, a cloud in peace and silence.